So we are starting, we are changing from quality to development now, and Debarshi Ray will show us the integration with, of Fedora Workstation with some well-known cloud services.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Yeah. So Google ownCloud and Fedora Workstation. My IRC nick is Rishi. I work in the Red Hat desktop team. So this talk is going to be about Fedora Workstation and the various online services that we have been trying to integrate into the desktop. We have been doing this for a while as part of upstream GNOME. And I'm going to talk about where we are today and what things we still lack, what works quite well, and where we are going to go from here. And I chose Google and ownCloud to focus this talk on Google and ownCloud because even though we support a whole bunch of service providers, these are the two which are very similar yet very different, and they're also quite popular, and they also are very well integrated into the desktop. So these two are very good candidates for talking about the entire online accounts situation in Fedora Workstation. So first I'm going to start with the current status, where we are. So those of you who might not be very familiar with how everything works, you get a chance to get up to speed, and then we'll talk about what we want to do next. So that's the entire matrix of all the different things that are present right now. It's kind of getting big and also a bit sparse, which we are trying to fix. So ideally, more of those empty boxes should be filled with yeses in the future. So the columns are basically various applications or various kinds of things that you can do, and the rows are basically different service providers. So if you take a look, you'll figure out that Google and ownCloud are among the few which have more yeses than empty boxes, as I said before. So every release we have been adding new things in this area. Like we started with Google way back in GNOME 3.2, which is many years, well, not many years, like it's 16, 14, 7 releases ago. And then every 6 months we have been adding something new. So Facebook, Windows Live, Microsoft Exchange, Flickr, so on and so forth. ownCloud showed up a little later because it's kind of new to this scene of online service providers, and it's also a bit different from all the others in the sense that you can actually run ownCloud on your own servers. So if you don't want to use a corporate kind of thing where the user is actually the product and privacy is a concern and so on, ownCloud is a very good option for you. And but it kind of showed up a little later, so it's a relatively recent addition to the whole thing. So Google and ownCloud are two of the most commonly used of these service providers. I mean, Google is obviously very popular, and ownCloud is very popular among the more privacy concerned users. And they're also very well integrated across the desktop. And they also offer very similar kinds of services. Like, for example, both of them have some kind of a file storage thing, like Google Drive. You're familiar with Google Drive, I guess. So both of them have some kind of file storage, file sharing kind of thing. Both of them offer calendaring, address books. I hear that ownCloud has recently added email, which we don't support yet. What else? calendaring, address books, files. Yeah. So yeah, and yet they're very different because Google, I mean, we all know about it. So it's kind of a thing where privacy is a concern, and you don't really get to run your own servers, which some people want. The source code is obviously not free software, and ownCloud is the exact opposite. Like, you get to run it on your own servers. It's you get to look at the source code. You control whatever you run, and so on. So yeah. ownCloud gives you calendars, contacts, documents, files, and so on. Well, it also gives you pictures, but we don't have support for you yet on the desktop, so that field is empty at the moment. So just in case you have never used this feature in the desktop, in Fedora Workstation, I'll just give a few demos to just get you up to speed how it works, so that we can go on and talk about what we want to do in the future. So you go to settings and you add a new account. You click through a bit through the dialogues. It kind of got cut out at the left, but yeah, I mean, that's me scrolling through my email account, and you could actually see things showing up there, like the folders and so on. So this is another thing that we added a few releases ago. This is basically something called Google Cloud Print. So the idea is that you can hook up your printer to the internet, and then you can access it anywhere if you have a Google account. So if you have added your Google account, your printers start showing up in the printing dialog. So you'll see some printers with location showing up as Google, the last one, and a couple of rows above it. So those printers are actually not local, and you basically use them over the cloud if you have a Google account. Then this demo is about ownCloud and files. So as I said, ownCloud also offers you a file storage thing. So if you have an ownCloud account, you can use it from your file manager, among other places. So the way this works is you again add an account. Yeah, your account shows up as a volume on the left, like a USB stick would show up, and then you click on it and you see your files on the cloud, on your own cloud server. So currently what we have kind of works okay for email, calendaring, and address books. Well, there is some debate to be had where Evolution is the best application for doing email, and I mean, applications come and go. I mean, that's there, but it kind of works reasonably well. So there is, I mean, we can improve iteratively. There is no really big hurdles there. However, it doesn't work so well if you are using something like the file storage option, like for storing your data or your content on the cloud. This is the area where we need to improve a lot, and this is also the area which free software desktops have neglected in the past. So the problem is that our offline access is kind of limited. So if you put something on Google Drive and then you don't have internet anymore, you don't get to it, you cannot get to it anymore, which sucks. So this also means that we also don't have any kind of synchronization feature, like where you can put something in a folder and that folder is automatically synced to the cloud. I think Alberto doesn't agree with me here. Oh, okay. Okay. So yeah, we don't have sync basically. Absence of sync is a big missing block because people have. Sorry, I was just. Absence of sync is kind of a missing block because people have come to expect it because Dropbox is really popular and ownCloud also has a sync client, and so having something like that more integrated into the desktop would be nice. We also have very limited content upload at the moment. This is, I mean, it's not nothing difficult, but the reason we don't have it now is kind of related to the whole sandboxing discussion. I don't know if you were in the desktop talks yesterday. People were talking about sandboxing and bundling applications. So the thing is that currently on the desktop, any process can basically do anything if it's running as your user. So basically what this means is that if you run your browser and the browser has a bug or is getting exploited due to a security issue, what it can do is it can just upload your private keys to some server or some random file that you didn't want anybody to see. It can just upload it anywhere and just basically do whatever it wants to. So the reason we didn't add a content upload yet is because we wanted to solve this problem first in a kind of generic way, because once you sandbox apps, then your text editor cannot see all your files in your home directory anymore. That's what it means. So, and when that happens, the APIs for accessing the disk and accessing the network and accessing the camera, they will all change. And so we didn't want to implement it. Still, we had a clear picture of how this thing will look like. But we are getting there, so maybe in a few releases from now, this will change. We also have limited files integration, I mean, for the file manager. The problem was that, one of the problems was that we are used to using our file manager in kind of a with the local file system mostly, and we have kind of some support for Samba servers and your USB stick, but it's not really designed to work with something like Google Drive, where you want to see things that you have on your cloud and see other things that somebody else shared with you. So you want to see things shared with you and things that you own, and at the same time, all these cloud storages, they are not like a POSIX file system. They kind of look like a POSIX file system in the UI, but they are not, which exposes some other problems which I'll come to later. So these are like three big, well, we have more problems, but they are like the three big issues that kind of we face right now. And as a result, for various use cases, the online accounts feature becomes kind of an optional thing which is easily ignored because it doesn't work so well with content, as I said before. So if you're using email, like the standard PIM functionality, like email, address book, calendars, then it works okay, but not so much with content and your files and your pictures. So if we can solve this, this opens up a few new opportunities. Like, it's important to know why we even want to solve this, right? I mean, why waste so much time? So if we can have a better and compelling story for content in the cloud, then it becomes much better for corporate cloud deployments. Like some companies have been deploying like cloud infrastructure for their employees. Like some people have been using ownCloud actually. Some people use Google. I mean, people have their different, each to their own. But the thing is that the idea of sharing documents and content with some kind of a centralized server is now getting more and more popular. So that's an important use case. The second is also similar, but on a smaller scale. Like people sometimes set up a network access storage at their homes to share content among their various devices and so on. And then the third is like more like a Chrome OS style user experience where you have a cloud account. It could be your own server, it could be Google or something else, and you basically want that to be your primary storage. I mean, because you probably travel around a lot and you have a phone and you have multiple computers and so on. And Chrome OS is becoming quite popular these days. So that's a use case would be nice to address. So what are we going to do? So the first thing that we need to do is solve the problem of database-backed storages. So what is a database-backed storage? So these cloud storages that we have, like Google Drive, Microsoft has something called OneDrive, and then there's Dropbox. All these cloud storages, they are basically like a database. They are very different from a hierarchical POSIX-like file system. So even though they kind of look like that in the UI, like you have folders and you can click into a folder, you get a list of files. But internally, every object is basically an ID in the database instead of being represented by a path in a tree. So one of the things that happens is like, even though you can mimic, you can kind of fake a POSIX-like experience. For the most part, there are some places where this falls apart. Like, for example, if you create a new file. So when you create a new file, you usually expect the path where you created the file to be like the way how the file system identifies the file. So like if you do mkdir / something new folder. So you expect that if you go to / something new folder, you'll find your directory there and you can put your files there, and if you do ls, that's what will show up and so on. However, in this case, what happens really is you get an ID back from the database, and then it breaks this assumption that file managers and other such programs have, that the path that you tried to create is what has been created and what you can use to identify that object in future. Because what you really have is a database ID. And your file managers are also kind of built in a way that they have a path bar and you go in and you come out. You have this notion of a hierarchy and so on. And in some crazy storages, you can also have like multiple parents for a folder and so on. So this is one thing which is holding us back in this area. So once we manage to solve this, we can have Google Drive support in the file manager. Like we have a prototype, it kind of works, but it's held back by these corner cases and these limitations that I explained before. So this would be one step forward to solve the problem of content in the cloud. And after that, we can also build like a content synchronization service for the session and so on. somewhat similar to Dropbox and the Google Drive clients. And then we'll profit from it. Yeah. So I guess I spoke too fast, maybe. So we have lots of time for questions. Yeah.
Will you add Colab to the list of services you support?
So the question was, would we add Colab to the list of services we support? Yeah, we could, actually. I mean, the only reason I am kind of holding back on adding new services is because of that matrix becoming really big. And it's kind of a pain to QE and keep it working every cycle. But yeah, I guess Colab uses standard.
I'm a GNOME user. I can do some other testing for you.
Yeah, so that makes my life easier.
And I work for Colab Systems, so.
Yeah, so that makes my life easier. So yeah, why not? And I guess you guys use standard protocols or somewhat
Anything
documented.
That is an RFC.
Yeah.
And nothing else.
Right. So that makes my life easier also because I don't have to implement new stuff. So yeah. Alberto. Okay. So you. So you were asking about client-side encryption software? No, I have not looked at client-side encryption software. I mean,
Because NFS, it doesn't work when the encrypted files change on the file, or when they are changing rapidly.
No, I have not looked at it, and I have also only very vaguely looked at synchronization to start with, so definitely not looked at client-side encrypted. I guess our answer to privacy-minded people is to just run a private server in their own network at the moment.
Have you had any thoughts about providing a one-stop API for people who have a service who want to integrate? And with one-stop API, I mean like a single, or at least a unified set of APIs. Like, let's say I'm the next door to Dropbox, right? And let's say, well, I want to integrate with GNOME. What do I do? And right now, like, finding the answer to that question is not that obvious.
Yes.
Like you have to integrate with Navigus on one hand, and then we go out the other side, and then,
Yes. So, right. So we don't offer a kind of we don't expose a plugin interface to Goa to start with. Nautilus has something for extensions, but we don't. Well, there is both positives and negatives to it. Like one good thing of having a plugin interface is that for a proprietary service, like if somebody wants to add Skype in there, and Skype will probably never be free software. So having a plugin interface, and you can drop some proprietary thing there, and it shows up.
but not supported, or
Yeah, or
I have my own organization and I have my set of services, and I want to provide a single configuration point for. Oh, sorry. I'll repeat. So the proprietary services is just one example of the. You're basically enabling upstreams and ISVs and people like startups doing their own thing to be able to integrate. And if we keep control of that, I'm not sure we're going to be able to reach all the ecosystem that is going to be available out there.
Yeah, I get your question. So one of the reasons why we didn't offer a plugin interface to begin with was because the code was very new and there were lots of unanswered questions, like there still are. We have answered a few, like for example, we have probably figured out how calendars and address books and these things are going to work, and email. But when it comes to things like syncing and offline access and your files in the cloud, I mean, we still have lots of unanswered questions. Our APIs don't really work that well. So, I mean, I'm not very sure that we have a complete answer for ourselves that we can even start telling people what to do. I mean, as I said, like Nautilus even doesn't have a very nice UI for cloud file systems. Like, you want to see your stuff that other people shared with you, then your own content, and then all these different, which are slightly different from just looking at your local file system. And we also haven't figured out the whole synchronization thing. I mean, I know there are some clients, third-party clients, so how that will fit into the core of the desktop if you want to do it by default, which I think probably we won't.
We can let we can let the vendors of those services, I mean, whether they're proprietary or not, that's another point, but we can let them figure out the synchronization by themselves like Dropbox has done. But at least we can give them the hooks to properly show up in the file manager or even in Goa.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not saying
hooks, right?
we can, for the things we're sure how to expose already, which I think are quite a few.
Yeah, right. So we need to give them the hooks to plug in their synchronization algorithms and so on, right? But the thing is, we also don't know what happens. I mean, can gedit go and open a file in Dropbox and actually use it in all the ways a user expects it to? Like, so I guess once we figure these things out, then it becomes easier to. I mean, once your code base and your API is mature, it becomes easier for you to start providing hooks, right?
So with the files, do you actually want to only expose it in the file manager so that you can copy to your local hard drive?
Yeah.
Or do you want to integrate it with the whole system so that you can open the files directly and save them directly from text editor or something like that?
Both, actually, both. So the demos I showed, they were only with the file manager, but if you are using gedit and you go to the GTK file chooser, you'll still see your cloud volume as like any other volume, like a USB stick, for example, and you can click on it and you can open it up directly from there. So that's why we need to figure out how these cloud storages, they will work with existing applications, because since it's part of the normal places where files show up, the usual places where you save files and you open files, they need to work reasonably well across a wide range of use cases. So yeah, they should be showing up both in the file manager and all the other usual places. Yeah. So the question was how KDE compares with GNOME. Well, I do know that ownCloud came out of KDE, so they have a lot of KDE history there. And I think recently KDE was also trying to use their own. Basically, they were trying to have their own single sign-on framework for the desktop and have accounts. But I've not looked at what's the absolute status today. Not that up to date on that front.
So KDE PIM originally came out of a Color project. So if you want to talk, then.
Also, if I can add something on the KDE side, if the files are exposed to the KIO system, then they are visible by all applications. That's for files, at least. And I think the work on the on the single sign-on and similar, it's still undergoing. But
yeah, that's the latest I heard, that they were trying to build their own single sign-on framework, and yeah. Anything else?
Can you say a little bit more details about storage?
Oh.
About supported storage, do you use
the question was whether we will use GlusterFS for storage.
Why primary?
On the client, I mean, we are talking about things happening on the client, right? So on the laptop. So.
Or ownCloud?
For ownCloud on the server.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no idea. Like, I don't work on the server. I guess you can. I have no idea.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm sure they have something to scale.
Wow.
But
Don't be so certain.
yeah. Yeah. So anything else? Okay. Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, I know. When I came out from my house at 8:02 meters, it was like 10 meters visibility, maybe even less, probably 5 meters.
It stopped for a while.
Was your water?
Yeah. Okay.
Poi vado a un posto decente dove mangiare ieri. Stai prendendo, sei ironico, io ogni tanto posso capire quando prendi per il culo. No, tranne quando lo ok. Ah, è vero, c'è il ristorante. Sì, esatto, questo è il cibo più quello. Sì, vedi i pro della zona. Dunque, se prendi tu quale formato di audio sei arrivato? Semilasso o ULASC? Semilasso. Semilasso non mi ricordo se c'è la macchinetta. Ci sono delle macchinette. Così c'è sicuramente. Fammi vedere se ne ho. Che forse ne avevo uno di emergenza. Tanto l'abbonamento, quindi guarda che. No, te lo tieni e ti tieni le monete. No.
Non so cosa fare.
Tieni.
Non me le cambiano.
Spendi, ti compri qualcosa là. No, tieni. No, quella ce l'ho. Ti compri qualcosa in stazione.
Tanto la cosa in stazione costava 30 cosa. Mangiavo un po'.
Puoi comprare anche sul PUS, sì, ti costa, puoi prendere anche l'acqua, puoi prendere un po' di cose e non costano neanche tanto. Sì, e non costano neanche tanto, queste cose pazzesche, ti dici, ti scippano la testa. No, niente. Vabbè, così non chiedere direttamente. questo 15 minuti forse non ci arriva in restrizione, perché a te serve quello da 60 minuti, che è quello successivo. Se no lo puoi comprare direttamente sull'Atlus, sul tram, gli bussi il tizio, gli dici o gli fai semplicemente tanto lo capisci, gli metti i soldi lì e te ne esci. Perché no, non ti ci arriva, 15 minuti non ce la fai. Aspetta, te lo dico subito.
You are the next? Okay. Shouldn't you be 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you have Peter. Racek.
Smaller one with the room.
No, basta. No, se mi sì, certo, se magari scrivo le fermate giuste magari mi dà anche la cosa giusta, no? Non se mi lazzo così che è una fermata.
Někdy nám to křičí. Někdy nám to tady křičí strašně. Jsou moc. Tady?
No,
Jedna, 2, 3, 4, 5. Jau? Jo.
Mi sa che Debarshi ha parlato troppo piano.
Il tipo di prima non si è sentito niente. Il tipo di prima non si è sentito niente.
Che si è sentito poco, sì.
18 minuti.
16 minuti, quindi ci vuole il biglietto da quello da 25 corone. Oppure se lo prendi sul pullman credo che sono 30 corone. Te ne prendi perché tu hai queste cose da fare. Sì, comunque per un minuto non ti basta. Se vai da Unizka dalla fermata successiva ti basta. Però se c'è la neve. Ma il slot puoi prendere solo 2 biglietti, cioè quello da 60 minuti e quello ridotto. Quindi
Purtroppo sicuramente quello vedo.
gli dici, gli dai 30 colonne. Credo che sia, sì, per quello 25 dovrebbe essere 30. Sì, perché è un minuto, è esattamente un minuto per arrivare alla usisca. La usisca, è così, è.
Oggi scendere magari sono più lenti.
In realtà se tu devi prendere l'autobus studentesco, puoi fermarti alla fermata prima della stazione, che è Malinowski. Quindi aspetta. No, anche perché è più vicino in realtà, cioè la stazione, allora tu arrivi ai teatri, gira poi alla stazione degli autobus e io scendo sempre a quella precedente perché arrivo subito invece di arrivare in stazione e poi riscendere salire eccetera. Cioè quello che faccio io normalmente.
So, do you have any plan how to get more people in here for the talk?
There's more or less
Yeah.
talkers.
I think they will show up. So this is a mic.
It's going to be streamed.
I was once on a talk when I was sole listener